Okay, so moving along with our look at the bottoms of boats and configurations of boats brings us to another one that is part of our group. Now this is a customized Tollycraft 48. So this is an Ed Monk design, and it's pretty interesting, not only because this one has a custom hardtop, and I gotta tell you, that's pretty nice, the Northwest. It's interesting because it's a really robust boat, good sea boat, and this is a true semi-displacement hull. So you're not going to see any of those bumps and chines and strakes and all that stuff under there to try to make it cheat. You know, these ones are really good sea boats, and we'll get up a little closer and you can see what I'm talking about. Another thing is, you'll notice these boats have quite an extreme bow flare. You can see that, right? So first thing we'll talk about is how you got to lift these boats. Now, because that bow flare is so extreme, you have to be really careful when lifting them, particularly when they've got an aftermarket rub rail. Like this has got a taco rub rail on it with a stainless insert, which is a bit wider than the original flat kind of rectangular section aluminum rail, and it does grab the travelift strap, and it puts a lot more inward pressure on the deck. And we've had two of these 48s that we know of, the train goes by of course, get squeezed and the deck punches up, and it's a very, very expensive repair. So what we do is, up here at the front we have these pads, which are just pool noodles wrapped around with cushion and then some heavy fabric, and we hang them. So your front straps are up here. Thanks, Canadian Pacific. So the front straps are going to be here under the window, like where the mullion is here on the window here. You're going to have the one pad here and one pad here to hold and it's going to go at about the level of that strake to hold the travelift sling out, so it doesn't put inward pressure right on the rub rail. One of the funny things about that, of course, is that you're going to have an immense amount of Tollycraft 48 hanging out in front of the forward straps, which looks really strange. But, you know, it's such a robust boat that that doesn't really matter. Now at the back here, the hull guard is also a little bit fragile, so we use these blocks, and they it's just a big chunk of wood wrapped in carpet. And we put those underneath the rub rail, and then it just keeps the strap from pinching the rub rail. Another expensive repair. Moving to the back, this is a very special boat. It's highly customized. She has a 80,000 BTU Webasto water furnace. It's incredible. Again, we can see a couple of Tollycraft things, like on the 61, you've got this very, very heavily supported swim grid. There are 4 supports here. We've got double ram Bennett trim tabs, a little vestigial keel stub. The running gear hangs way down. This boat has 28 by 26 Nibral 3 blades, big rudders. You can actually run this boat on one propeller and steer it, no problem, if you lose an engine or you're just going along on one. On each side, above the exhaust, there's a port here, and we carry a spare shaft inside there. This is just a plumbing plug. You can take that out, and there's a spare propeller shaft, one on each side. It's really nice. The swim grid's really robust. It's heavy, heavy marine plywood. Here's the other shaft alleyway. A V-strut on each side. And you'll notice, you know, she's got this nice round chine. There's no hard corners on this boat at all, really. This is really nice because it really slides through the water very efficiently. And if you ever have to dive under the boat to clear a stern rope off of the propeller, well, I can tell you, it's really nice because your body just kind of slips up that curve and you come up to the side. Ask me how, I know. So she's got a water injected cutlass, and you can see how deep the keel is. So great directional stability. Now that's at the expense of twisting the boat with the engines. She doesn't like to do that. We carry on with this round form. All the way up. See, those are the main engine intakes. A lot of these boats have a molded pocket here for the depth transducer, which I don't know if it's a great idea. I think it creates turbulence here over the transducer face. I'd rather have an Airmar blue fairing block myself. Get an idea of the hull shape. It's very pointy. So you have a very small chine. This is really just a spray knocker. I don't think it does a whole lot of lifting. And the incredibly deep and sharp forefoot and that great bow flare. So you get an idea of just how sharp the entry is on this boat. Right there. And that terrific flare. This one has a 33 kilo rock knob there. We look after this one for the owners. They're great guys. Down the other side, same thing. Uncomplicated. There's another transducer flat molded in on this one. I think in the later hulls that was eliminated and they started using the Airmar fairing block, which I think is a little bit more, you know, hydrodynamically sensible for the modern stuff. Now, you look at a more modern boat like a 411 Meridian, I mean, there's nothing underneath this thing. It's flat as a pancake. And if you look at the dead rise at the bow, all that says to me, it's like a spoon. There's no concavity at all. It's all convex. Must be a real pounder. So this one's got a pair of 671Ns and 280 horsepower aside. Great package for the boat. You got about a 13.5 knot cruise all day long, 10 knot cruise, 8 knot cruise. It doesn't really matter. She's in superb condition. It's a 1980 boat. There's a whole bunch of these boats were built. They actually made a couple of sedans, like a Sportfish style. So the house was pushed back, big cockpit. I think there's about 6 or 7 of them left. I know one got hit a road bridge while being transported. I think another one burned, but I'm not too sure. But that's the Tolly 48. A real classic. And boats like this aren't being built anymore because there's just so much material in this. You can tell by the immersed volume of this boat is like 3 times as much as this Meridian. Just how much structure there is. She is a little weak getting lifted, as we discussed, but if you take that care. And another problem we have with the 48 is the stem is a little weak for impact, unfortunately. Something to think about. This is a split mold, so it's quite common to see a crack down the stem. If you whack something, she's a little soft here. So this one's been all reinforced. We did bump something, but it was very, very minor. This is a great running boat. She tends to be a little bit rolly. I prefer them to be stabilized. If you're going to stabilize a Tollycraft 48, the best place to put the fins are just behind the engines on the outboard side. So you're going to have your fins somewhere in this neighborhood right here. They'll be 10 feet in front of the propellers, so you're not going to get turbulence into the running gear. We have stabilized a 48, a little bit newer one than this. And that really makes it, because these do roll with that round chine. You give up a bit of the resistance to roll by having that round chine, but I can tell you this is probably one of the most efficient hull forms and the most sea kindly into a head sea. I mean, she does roll, but she always comes back. Owner reports 13.5 knots on 12 gallons an hour all day long, with the engines that are really good exhaust gas temperature, like the EGT is right about where it should be for a 671N. This boat runs superbly. A lot of these boats had the 310 naturally aspirated 671N in them. It goes a little faster. I've seen a 1984 Tollycraft 48 with a couple of 310s touch 19 knots on the pin. We've dealt with them with cats, natural cats, the older ones. I think they started building these things in 1976. The ones with natural cats are pretty slow. I don't think I've seen one go more than about 12 knots. I could be wrong, but I've never driven one more than that. This is a 1980 boat. It's been superbly maintained, and we're lucky to have it in our fleet. But you can see the bottom is like a Teflon pan. There's no blisters, no problems. We're just out for our annual service, propeller change, all that good stuff. Anyway, we were lucky to be able to be the listing broker for this vessel as well when these gentlemen bought it, and they've left and trusted her to us. We've redone the woodwork, a bunch of things. We get a good idea of where that keel ends. For anyone's looking for a 48, this is where we put the strap, right? So it's right at the end of the keel. So this will give you an idea where the two straps are. They are right there. So when you're out of the water, you can look at that window mullion. And at the front, you can see there's some marks from the straps. We tend to put them right about there. We straddle the power inlets. And we have our pads for this side as well. So she's going back in the water tomorrow. And that's it. Tollycraft 48. One of my favorite boats, actually. Such a good runner. If you can't look like a star handling this boat around the dock, I suggest you take up farming. Anyway, have a good one. Wide open.